The Little Prince is one of those rare books that looks simple on the surface and becomes deeper the older you get. It is often sold as a children's story, but in reality it is also a philosophical fable about love, loneliness, memory, grief, responsibility, innocence, and the spiritual poverty of modern adult life. This video has a comprehensive look at the story itself, the ideas behind it, the life of its author, and the lessons that have made it endure for generations. The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, was written and illustrated by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry and first published in 1943 in the United States, while France was under German occupation during World War II. It was published in both French and English in New York before appearing in France after the war. It has since become one of the best-selling and most translated books in the world. But statistics alone do not explain its power. The book survives because it speaks in two languages at once. To children, it offers wonder, sadness, humor, and adventure. To adults, it offers an indictment of adulthood itself. It is not merely a fairy tale. It is a parable about what human beings lose as they grow older, the ability to see essence rather than surface, relationship rather than utility, mystery rather than measurement, and love rather than possession. The story begins with a pilot, the narrator, remembering his childhood. As a child, he once drew a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Adults, however, saw only a hat. That misunderstanding becomes the book's first great wound. Adults, he realizes, do not truly see. They reduce imagination to convention and mystery to categories. Years later, the narrator has become a pilot. His plane crashes in the Sahara Desert. He is stranded, alone, and in danger. Then, in this place of emptiness, he encounters a strange little boy with golden hair who asks him a disarmingly simple question. "Please, draw me a sheep." This moment is crucial. The Little Prince does not ask for rescue, explanation, or credentials. He asks for imagination. He recognizes in the pilot the possibility of a different kind of vision, the kind adults usually lose. Over the next several days, the pilot learns that the Little Prince comes from a tiny planet, asteroid B612. So small that one can watch many sunsets in a single day just by moving a chair a few steps. On this tiny world, the prince performs daily rituals of care, cleaning out his volcanoes, pulling up baobab seedlings before they grow and destroy the planet, and caring for a rose. This is the entire world of the prince, a small home, a few volcanoes, dangerous seeds, sunsets, and one flower. The rose. The rose is one of the most important figures in the book. She is beautiful, vain, proud, demanding, delicate, and deeply vulnerable. She arrives mysteriously on the prince's planet and becomes the emotional center of his life. The prince loves her, but he does not yet know how to love well. He is confused by her contradictions. She is tender but theatrical, needy but guarded, affectionate but manipulative. Because he is still immature, he takes her words too literally and fails to understand the feeling beneath them. He becomes hurt and leaves his planet. This departure is one of the book's central emotional tragedies. The prince does not leave because he does not love the rose. He leaves because he does love her, but lacks the wisdom to interpret love's fragility, pride, and fear. The journey through the planets. After leaving home, the prince travels from one tiny planet to another. On each planet, he meets one adult, and each adult represents a distorted way of living. 1. The king. The king claims to rule everything, yet he has no subjects. He represents the absurdity of authority detached from reality. His power is symbolic rather than real. 2. The vain man. The vain man wants only admiration. He hears every word as praise. He represents narcissism and the hunger to be seen without ever truly seeing others. 3. The drunkard. The drunkard drinks to forget that he is ashamed of drinking. He represents circular despair, addiction, and the self-defeating loops in which people become trapped. 4. The businessman. The businessman counts stars and claims to own them because he was first to think of owning them. He represents possessiveness, capitalism without wonder, and the adult tendency to confuse ownership with meaning. 5. The Lamplighter. The Lamplighter is perhaps the most sympathetic adult the prince meets. He follows orders to light and extinguish a lamp, but his planet rotates so quickly that he must do so every minute. He represents duty, routine, and perhaps the tragedy of obedience without reflection. Yet, unlike the others, he at least serves something beyond himself. 6. The Geographer. The geographer records facts about places he never visits. He knows about oceans and mountains, but not through experience. He depends on explorers while remaining stationary. He represents abstract knowledge cut off from life, experience, and feeling. The geographer also introduces the prince to a painful idea. Flowers are ephemeral, temporary, and vulnerable. This shocks the prince because it means his rose is mortal. The geographer sends the prince to Earth, where the scale of life changes dramatically. Here he encounters several figures who deepen the story's philosophical and emotional range. The Snake. The snake is enigmatic, dangerous, and calm. It speaks in riddles and hints at the possibility of sending the prince back home. The snake represents death, transcendence, return, and perhaps the thin border between the visible and invisible worlds. The Rose Garden. The prince then finds a garden full of roses and is devastated. He had believed his rose was unique. Seeing thousands of roses that look like her makes him feel betrayed and diminished. If his rose is not unique in the world, what becomes of his love? This is one of the book's great turning points. The Fox. Then comes the most famous and arguably most important episode in the book, the fox. The fox asks the prince to tame him. In the book, taming means creating ties, forming a bond that makes one being unique to another. The fox explains that before taming, the prince is just another little boy and the fox is just another fox. But if they form a bond, then each will become singular in the other's world. From the fox, the prince learns the book's central truths. That love creates uniqueness. That time spent on someone is what makes them precious. That responsibility follows affection. And that what is essential is invisible to the eye. The prince realizes then that his rose is unique not because she is the only rose in existence, but because she is his rose, the one he watered, sheltered, listened to, and loved. Her uniqueness is not objective, it is relational. This is the philosophical and emotional heart of the entire book. The Well in the Desert. Meanwhile, in the desert, the pilot and the prince search for water. They eventually find a well, one of the book's most symbolic moments. The desert, which appears empty, hides life-giving water. The well is a perfect image of the book's worldview. The visible surface tells only part of the truth. What matters most often lies hidden. The prince's departure. Eventually, the prince tells the pilot that he must return to his planet and his rose. The only way to do this seems to be through the snake's bite. He allows the snake to bite him, and his body falls quietly, like a tree. The next morning, the prince's body is gone. The book never states in plain terms what happened. Did he die? Did he return home? Is the return spiritual, literal, symbolic, or all three at once? Saint-Exupéry leaves the question open, and that ambiguity is part of the book's power. The narrator, years later, still looks at the stars and wonders whether the prince's sheep has eaten the rose. That uncertainty becomes the final ache of the book. Love means caring about a fate you cannot fully know. On the surface, The Little Prince is about a child from another world who meets a stranded pilot. At a deeper level, it is about 6 interlocking subjects. The failure of adults to see what matters. The education of the heart. Love as responsibility rather than possession. Grief and separation. The loneliness of modern life. The attempt to preserve wonder in a damaged world. It is a story about learning how to love and learning too late what love really meant. What is essential is invisible to the eye. This is the book's most famous line because it is its central philosophical claim. Saint-Exupéry argues that reality has layers. The visible world, status, money, Titles, measurements, numbers, appearances does not reveal the deepest truth of a thing. Essence lies in invisible realities. Affection, loyalty, memory, grief, devotion, imagination, and spiritual recognition. The adults in the story are obsessed with what can be counted, owned, categorized, or admired. The child sees what cannot be counted, the meaning of a sunset, the pain of a flower, the value of a friendship. A rose is not just a botanical specimen. A star is not just an astronomical object. A sheep is not just livestock. A child's drawing is not just a hat. The fox's lesson is one of the most profound in modern literature. Things become meaningful because of relationship. The prince's rose is not objectively the most beautiful flower in the universe. She becomes unique because he has cared for her. Love is not merely a feeling one discovers. It is also something one builds through attention, time, vulnerability, and fidelity. This idea opposes a consumer mentality toward love. In a consumer mindset, if one rose disappoints you, you go find a better rose. In The Little Prince, love becomes meaningful because you remain in relation, because you have invested yourself, because you have made yourself responsible. The book does not say that all adults are bad. It says that adulthood tends to harden into one-dimensional existence. Adults become trapped in roles, routines, abstractions, and ego structures. They forget play, beauty, and tenderness. The prince is not simply a child. He is a moral and spiritual counterweight to adult fragmentation. The rose teaches the prince that love is not pure comfort. It includes misunderstanding, pride, hurt, longing, and vulnerability. To love something mortal is to expose oneself to grief. The fox deepens this lesson. Once you create ties, separation hurts. Yet the fox does not regret being tamed. Why? Because sorrow is the price of meaning. A life without attachment may be safer, but it is also poorer. The ending of The Little Prince is inseparable from death. But Saint-Exupéry does not treat death as merely biological finality. In the book, death is tied to return, homecoming, mystery, and invisibility. The prince's body is too heavy to take back to the stars, so the visible body must be left behind. Whether one reads this spiritually, symbolically, or poetically, the point is clear. What is most real about the prince cannot be reduced to his physical presence. The symbols in the book. The sheep. The sheep represents innocence, imagination, and also danger. It is a gift the prince asks for, but it becomes a source of anxiety at the end. Has the sheep eaten the rose? Love always carries the possibility of loss. The box. When the pilot cannot draw a satisfactory sheep, he draws a box and says the sheep is inside. The prince is delighted. This is one of the clearest demonstrations of the book's respect for imagination. The unseen is richer than the over-explained. The baobabs. The baobabs symbolize destructive tendencies that begin small and must be addressed early: habits, resentments, ideologies, selfishness, or moral neglect. The lesson is practical and psychological. If you ignore dangerous things while they are still seeds, they may one day destroy your world. The rose. The rose is many things at once. The beloved. Beauty, fragility, pride, emotional complexity, and the difficulty of mature love. She is also widely read as reflecting Saint-Exupéry's wife, Consuelo, though the rose is not reducible to a literal portrait of her. The fox. The fox represents wisdom born from relationship. Unlike the adults, the fox teaches not through power, vanity, or knowledge, but through mutual vulnerability. The desert. The desert is emptiness, loneliness, silence, purification, and revelation. It strips life to essentials. In the desert, the pilot encounters the truth he had lost in adult life. The stars. The stars are one of the book's most beautiful symbols. They become a language of memory. After the prince leaves, the stars no longer mean astronomy. They mean friendship, grief, and the possibility that love survives absence. The well. The well symbolizes hidden grace. In a barren world, life can still be found, but only by those willing to search beyond appearances. The snake. The snake is the most ambiguous symbol in the book. It can be read as death, a gateway, transcendence, destiny, or the terrifying necessity of separation. Its ambiguity is deliberate. It belongs to the border between literal and symbolic reality. Saint-Exupéry wrote The Little Prince while living in New York after the fall of France. He was homesick, politically anguished, and distressed by Europe's collapse into war. The book's sadness is not incidental. It comes from a man writing in a world of rupture. The narrator is an aviator stranded in the desert who feels misunderstood by adults and haunted by childhood vision. This resemblance is too strong to ignore. Many readers and scholars interpret the narrator and the prince as two sides of Saint-Exupéry himself. The adult self, practical, stranded, wounded, aging. The child self, innocent, curious, morally clear, emotionally honest. Seen this way, The Little Prince becomes not only a story about meeting a child from another planet, but also a story about an adult trying to recover the lost child within himself. The ending of the story is shadowed by Saint-Exupéry's own disappearance. One of the most haunting facts about the book is that Saint-Exupéry himself disappeared in 1944 during a reconnaissance flight over the Mediterranean after rejoining the war effort. His plane vanished. Decades later, wreckage connected to his aircraft was identified. This makes the ending of The Little Prince feel almost prophetic. A pilot tells the story of a beloved being who vanishes, leaving behind uncertainty, memory, and the stars. Then the author himself disappears into the sky. The Little Prince is one of the loneliest famous books ever written. The king is lonely. The vain man is lonely. The drunkard is lonely. The businessman is lonely. The geographer is lonely. The pilot is lonely. Even the prince is lonely, despite his curiosity and gentleness. The book's view of loneliness is deeply modern. We can be busy, productive, informed, and still existentially abandoned. If I had to state the lasting lesson of the book as clearly as possible, it would be this. Do not become so adult that you lose the ability to love with care, see with wonder, and recognize that the most important parts of life are invisible. Wish you real love and prosperity in your life. Thank you for watching.